Welcome to Beyond Sunday podcast. We are excited that you could join us, and we are excited to launch this podcast and to have you partake in a lot of these different sessions and episodes that we will be having. We will be covering a multiple range of topics that we don't always get a chance to talk about on a Sunday. And we want to kind of start with some very fundamental things that we believe are very important for people to ask themselves. Like, for an example, today there's a question that we want to ask and answer and digest together with Pastor Vern and myself here. The question is, why do I believe in Jesus Christ and not some other belief system? I'll ask you that question, Pastor. Why do you believe in Jesus, and why do you believe in Christianity and that belief system?
It is a question, like you said, it's very fundamental. Everybody needs to answer that question. At some point in your life, if you're a Christian, you need to answer that question for yourself. Most people, according to statistics, become the faith of how they were raised. There's a certain range where people reject, the faith they're raised. I was raised a certain way, and I just left it all. I rejected it. But for people who continue on in serving God, most of the time they stay in the faith that they were raised in, which is okay. There's nothing nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just an issue of, if you have to give an answer, why do you believe in Jesus, not Buddha? Many times, if you haven't contemplated that, you don't have a good answer. And that opens you up to your own issues of doubt. You hit a rough stretch in life, and it seems like whatever you believe is not working.
Yeah.
Well, why do you believe it?
Yeah.
So at some point, it's a very fundamental question that has to be answered. I was a little, I don't know where people fall in. To me, it seemed like I was a little later in life when I answered this. I was already in college, going to be a minister, when I think it was during an apologetics class, which is the defending of the faith. The teacher asked some really good questions, and it was his job to do it, because here we are, we're all going to the ministry. Well, why do we even believe in Jesus?
Yeah.
You got to start at the foundation, the basics, and work up.
Yeah.
And he got us going on that. So that's where I started questioning it and researching and trying to figure out, beyond the fact of what my parents said,
Okay.
what the pastor said at church, why do I believe this stuff? And there's many different, as you research, you find many different approaches to trying to substantiate, is the Bible true? Is Jesus real? Did it really happen? Is this something worth believing? And most of the people that I read come back to the resurrection. It is a historical, undeniable fact. And in fact, a few of them, they tried to disprove Christianity and take it apart and, show it to be a sham. And when they got to the resurrection, they found so much evidence for the resurrection that it actually brought them back around. It's like, I can't disprove this. I have to go with this.
Wow.
For me, it was not the resurrection. It there was something else that caught my eye, and it was the fulfilled prophecies from the Old Testament, the prophecies concerning Jesus, and the fulfilled prophecies about him. The chances of him fulfilling all these prophecies is so astronomically huge, such an impossibility, that when you actually pinpoint it and go, wow, he actually did this, it's so far beyond even human being able to contemplate it, that it to me, it even removed the faith factor. It's like, well, I don't even have to have faith to believe this.
Wow.
This is so beyond.
Just how much evidence of what he actually fulfilled?
Yep, the numbers and so forth. So that's what caught my attention. So I can explain that.
Can I ask, roughly, just for our viewers, how old were you when all this was
I'd have
occurring?
been in my low 20s.
Okay, so earlier 20s.
Yeah, when all this occurred. But But just for information, there's over 300, and I've got some notes here, so I'll be looking at my iPad to make sure I get this right.
Yeah.
But there's over 300 prophecies concerning Jesus in the Old Testament, all kinds of prophecies. Some are very minor, some are very small. Many of them are much larger. So an astrophysicist, is my understanding, the information I got, and it was all recorded into a book. A man put it into a book to give the information on it. I can give that as we get a little further in. Rather than trying to figure out the probability of Jesus fulfilling over 300 prophecies, he just went with the major ones.
Okay.
Or took most of the major ones. And what was the chances of one man fulfilling 48 prophecies that were spoken about him by numerous different people? Over 1,500 years, these prophecies were going out toward Jesus. And they all culminated in one man in a 33-year period, and they all came true in that period. What's the chances of 48 major prophecies? And by major, I mean born of a virgin, where he was born, the town he was born in, Bethlehem, has to be a descendant of Abraham, from the tribe of Judah. They would call him Emmanuel. He ministered in Galilee. The way he taught was going to be parables. He would be rejected by his own people, betrayed by a very close friend, and the friend would betray him for 30 pieces of silver. That was prophesied.
That was part of the prophet.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
it was exact amount of money. So we're talking some very specific things, not just a general prophecy. And once I studied this and got the answer to it and laid it against the other holy books like the Quran and these other, all if you want to call them Bibles or holy books, have prophecies about things that are coming, etc. Most of them, it's about a fourth to a third turn out right. And it's the real general ones. Like someplace in the future, there's going to be a horrible storm on the East Coast.
Yeah.
That would be a prophecy. Well, I mean, if you wait a few hundred years, someplace in there, that's going to happen.
Correct.
So, okay, that proves that they were right. Well, yeah, but it's so general. Anybody could prophesy that. I mean, I can talk about things like that, and if I keep it real general, I can be a very accurate prophet.
Yeah.
But once you start saying there's a man that's coming who's going to be betrayed by a close friend, and he's actually going to betray him for 30 pieces of silver, that one's pretty specific.
Yes.
To make that happen. So when I put it all together and I looked at it, it's like, well, there's only one book that's getting this right, and it's the Bible. And who does the Bible talk about? Jesus. And what we call Christianity.
Yeah.
So let me take it apart for you a little bit. 48 prophecies, major prophecies, being fulfilled in one man's life. The book is Science Speaks by Peter Stoner. This is where it's recorded in. And the estimation, when they took it apart and tried to figure out, okay, what are the chances? Like if you're going to flip a coin, what's the chances you're going to get heads?
50-50.
50-50, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how they lay it out. It's 1 in a certain number. Well, the number they laid out, the chances of Jesus fulfilling these 48 prophecies is 1 in 10 with 157 zeros behind it.
Okay.
It is an astronomical number that humans can't compute. We can't figure it out. So in an effort to break it down a little bit, the chances, these notes are a little older. Maybe the chances have changed now a little bit more recently, but the chances of winning the U.S. Powerball, the lottery, is 1 in 8 with 7 zeros.
Now compare that with the first one.
So 1 in 10 with 157 zeros, it's 1 in 8 to 7 zeros is almost like this is guaranteed compared to 1 in 10 with 157 zeros. It's so far beyond that 1 in 8. It's 80,089,128 is 1 in 8 with 7 zeros. That's the exact number. So if you go out, according to this statistic, and buy a Powerball ticket,
Those are my chances.
Your chances are 1 in 80
Okay.
million,
Okay.
or 8 with 7 zeros. I don't even know what they call 10 with 157 zeros. I don't even know if they have a name for that. It's too big. But so winning the Powerball is actually pretty obvious. You can do that. 1 in 10 with 157 zeros. How big a number is that? So one guy figured it out this way. He said if you take half-inch marbles and you lay them out, pile them up, stack them up, whatever, you have 5,184 cubic miles of marbles. Cubic mile is a mile by a mile by a mile.
Okay.
That's 1 cubic mile. So that 1 mile high, 1 mile wide, 1 mile deep, 1 square cube of marbles is 1 cubic mile. 10 with 157 zeros behind it is 5,184 of these cubic
Wow. Okay.
miles of marbles.
Yeah.
That many marbles will build a road to the moon, 38 feet thick, 3 miles wide, and 240,000 miles long, or to the moon.
Sheesh.
Okay, so that's all half-inch marbles.
38 feet thick.
Yep, 3 miles wide to the moon.
That's wild.
And it's all made out of half-inch marbles.
That's wild.
That's a lot of marbles.
That's
okay?
a lot of marbles.
So now the chance of 1 in that many marbles
Yeah.
is when they were building that road. Let's say all the marbles are white, and they took a black one and just randomly threw it in there someplace in that 38 feet thick, 3 miles wide to the moon road. Threw it in there someplace and said, here you go. We're going to blindfold you. We're going to send you on that road. You have 1 chance. It's 1 in that number. You have 1 chance. You can dig down. You can do whatever. But the first marble you pick up's got to be that black one.
Wow.
See, that everybody would say that's an impossibility, which scientifically it is.
Yeah.
It's so far beyond impossible, it will never, 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 ever, ever happen.
Yeah.
But it happened in Jesus.
With the 48. Now we're not even considering all the. You're just talking about just
the 48.
Major.
The number gets so large that it's no reason to even talk about it. If you go like to 100 of the prophecies
Yes.
or 300 of the prophecies, the number gets so big it doesn't mean anything to us. So they just went with the 48 major ones.
Wow.
And
like you've mentioned already before, of like born of a virgin,
yep,
on and so forth.
yep,
Okay.
the major things. Another guy explained it this way. He said if you were going to count all the marbles in that road, so you've got 10 with 157 zeros behind it, you got that number of marbles in that road. He said if you had 5 billion people counting, so this statistic was probably put together when we were closer to 5 billion people on Earth. So that's back a few years.
So now it's about 8.2.
Yeah. So if you had 5 billion people counting that marbles in that road, 4 marbles per second. So you'd have to be counting fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Just to clarify, this is all the 5 billion people doing this together.
All 5 billion are doing it together.
Okay.
And they're counting at that pace.
Yes.
That speed. To count all the marbles in that road, they would count 24 hours a day at that pace, 5 billion people. How long would it take to get 10 with 157 zeros behind it, that amount of marbles counted? It would take 4,115,400,000,000 years.
For 5 billion people.
Counting.
No way.
Yeah. It's
that's wild.
Like I said, it's beyond belief. It's
that's
like
wild.
And trillion, we don't understand trillion, and this is 4 trillion. 1 trillion seconds. So there's 60 seconds in a minute. 1 trillion seconds, if you'd count back in time, 1 trillion seconds, we'd be back 29,700 BC.
That is wild.
And we're 2,000 after BC, so it'd be 31,700 years back to count
all the marbles.
That many seconds. Yep. If all the marbles were converted into seconds and we went back, we'd go back 31,700
That is
years.
wild.
years. That's 1 trillion. This is
4 trillion.
4 trillion years of 5 billion people counting 4 marbles a second
That's
to get to that number. 4 trillion is 126,000 years ago.
that's
So it's
wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. So the scientific threshold, where do they say if it gets beyond 1 in this number, it's considered impossibility? It's 1 in 10 with 30 zeros. Now remember, the number we're looking at is 1 in 10 with 157 zeros.
150. So wow.
So anything, so like 1 in 10 with 31 zeros, scientists say don't even have to think about it. It's impossible.
Okay.
Or 42 zeros or 63 zeros behind that number 10. It's impossible, can't happen. So, for example, they calculated out the chances of us freezing to get to death in a room at 70 degrees because, I'm not a scientist, but they say the air molecules are all at different temperatures. They're not all at 70 degrees. There's some that are floating in the atmosphere that are below freezing, some that are very hot, and they all mix together, and we get
Balance
that
themselves out.
balance out of 70. The chances of you or I freezing to death here
In this room.
at 70 degrees, we'd say, well, that's impossible. It's never happened, which is true. To where we know far as we know, it's never happened.
Yeah.
But the chances of it then have to you have to have more than 30 zeros behind the 10, which it does. They calculate it as 1 in 10 with 50 zeros.
For somebody to freeze
to
the chances
death
of somebody to freeze.
in this room.
Okay.
So it's impossible. So anything beyond 1 in 10 with 30 zeros is considered impossible. We're looking at 1 in 10 with 157 zeros.
That's wild.
So it's not, if you're not really, how would you say, proficient in math, you're going to say, well, from 30 to 31 zeros, that's 1 times more. No, that's 10 times more. If you have 30 zeros and you add 1 zero, it's 10 times more. For instance, if you have the number 1 and you put 1 zero behind it, you now have 10.
Correct.
It's 10 times more.
Correct.
If you take that number 10 and add 1 more zero, now you have 100. Again, it's 10 times more. So 10 times 10 is 100. So every time you add a zero, it goes up 10 times. So to go from 30 zeros to 31 zeros, it's 10 times more unlikely to happen.
Wow.
To go from 30 to 32 zeros, it's 20 times more unlikely.
Wow.
We're going from 30 to 157 zeros. It is so far beyond human comprehension that it makes no sense. So when I looked at that, and it was verified numerous places, I found it, because other people tried to disprove that too. Well, it can't be. But 2 and 2 is 4. Unless you're using new math, then you never know what it's going to be. But the math I grew up under, 2 and 2 is 4. It doesn't lie. That's one of the beautiful things about math is you can't manipulate it.
No.
It is what it is.
It is
Unless
what it is.
you're in new math, then you can make it say anything. But math that normal people use, or we used to use,
2 plus 2.
2 plus 2 is always 4. You can't change that. So when you take something as concrete as a probability and say, this is so far beyond impossible that these 48 prophecies could be fulfilled in one man, that convinced me. It's like, that convinced me. And the other holy books, you look at them, well, they hit about a third of it, and they miss 2/3. Well, that kind of undermines even the third.
Yeah, but even in their third that they, let's say, hit, it's like they're very general.
Yeah.
There's no specification. Like, when you read about the life of Jesus and you read some of the things, it's like, it's specific, like you're saying, the 48 majors.
Yeah.
So
He had to come out of Nazareth. That's
Yeah.
one of them. He
Yeah.
had to be born in Bethlehem. Just take those two things. You got to have a guy born in Bethlehem, comes out of Nazareth in his adulthood to be ministered. He went as a baby.
yeah,
Here's another prophecy. He ended up in Egypt, and God called him back out of Egypt.
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
born in Bethlehem, had to come out of Nazareth as a baby. He had no power over this at all. His parents had to take him to Egypt because he had to come back out of Egypt.
yeah,
He had to be betrayed by a close friend for a specific amount of money.
yeah, yeah,
So you just take those five and go, what's the chances of one person? I mean, in just those five, it's like, well, that's impossible. That'll never happen.
yeah.
Well, here we got 48 of them, and it's to me, that was the thing that
Convinced you?
totally convinced
Yeah.
me.
I can
that-
see why.
Yeah,
When you're given the perspective like you're giving of the probability and the one with 157 zeros behind it. I
Yep.
mean, that's a lot of evidence
well,
there.
it's a lot of evidence. Yeah, there is a good book. It's called "The Case for Christ" by Lee Strobel.
Yes.
He
yes,
was
that's a good one.
I think he was an atheist. I don't think he was agnostic. I think he was an atheist.
I believe so.
And his wife was a believer, and this caused conflict. So he was going to end this conflict once and for all.
To prove her
He was a
wrong.
journalist coming out of New York and had a big, high-powered career. So he knew how to investigate. So he said, I'm just going to investigate this and prove it's a sham, and then it'll fix my marriage because then my wife will have to give her goofy beliefs up.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
as a result of all his journalism, he took years to research this. He said, well, it's all true. I can't disprove
Yeah.
it's all true,
Yeah.
which caused him to say, well, if it's all true, then I better get on board.
That's right.
So it's a really good book. It lays some things out. But the thing that, you can have all the mental things and all the facts and so forth. But the thing to me that still changes the life, because you can prove to people if you jump off this roof,
You'll die.
you'll probably hurt yourself or die.
Yeah.
Somebody's still going to try it just because you said it could happen. Well, they have to see because humans are just dumb that way. we just do dumb things.
we make dumb choices.
That's it. So
Help us,
you can
Lord.
have all the facts laid out,
Yeah.
and it still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because I choose not to believe that. So when it comes right down to it, the best convincer or the best thing that will confirm to us, hey, this is God, is that personal encounter,
Yeah.
that personal experience
Yeah.
with Jesus. If you don't have that, you can be swayed
Yeah.
and turned by arguments and reasoning.
But would you even say because I agree with you 100%, the evidence like that you just literally brought up, the probability of the fulfillment of prophecy, then I agree with that. But then you also said the personal encounter. But would you say that the personal encounter is an ongoing thing? It doesn't just happen once in your life. Would you say that it's an ongoing thing?
Yeah.
Yet that initial one
Yeah.
is what convinced you.
Yeah.
But it having a constant encounter with the Lord, hearing Him speak to you, it maintains your belief. I mean,
Yeah.
would you say that's something that you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And there's those major, how would you say, locking pins.
I call them mile markers.
Yep,
I call
throughout
them.
your life
Yeah. Yep. I call
that
them mile
just,
markers.
Lock down.
Yeah.
The Hebrews talks about it being the anchor of our soul.
Yeah.
And it just locks us into place. And it happens over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you got minor stuff that happens almost on a daily basis.
Yes. Yes.
But you have these major things that it might be years in between, and all of a sudden there's just this major
boom comes at you. Yeah.
that just locks you down.
Yeah.
But and once you have that relational experience, like the 12 apostles, to my knowledge, they didn't have any scientific proof that Jesus was the Messiah.
They had the scrolls. They had the Old
They
Testament.
had the Old Testament, but is he that?
Yeah. Yep.
You
Is
know,
where they were weighing it
a
all
lot
out.
of Israel, especially the religious people, kicked it out because now he's not the Messiah. But they had their personal encounters.
Yeah.
And that was so dramatic in their life that they died for it.
Yeah. I mean, even just taking Andrew coming to his brother Peter, and he said, "We think this is the guy," because after he saw him perform some signs, miracles, and wonders, it was that encounter that he had with him.
Yep.
So
yeah, and Howard Storm has a good book out too. He also was an atheist who died
okay,
and went to hell, and then through the story, I won't give the story away, but came out of hell. Jesus took him out of hell and showed him some things, explained some things to him, and he totally
flipped. Okay,
I mean, as soon as he came back to life, he was dead. He was pronounced dead in the hospital.
yeah,
As soon as he came back to life, the first words that he said to his wife was, "Jesus is alive.
wow,
Jesus is God."
wow. And who is this?
Howard Storm.
Howard Storm. Okay,
So yeah, then he became a minister, and I mean, his whole life just flipped with that one.
wow.
And that is, like, you would probably call that a major, major encounter.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's an encounter,
yeah,
and it totally changed his life.
yeah.
But so yeah, how about you? You got anything to throw in? Where did you lock down on this?
I'm just kind of bouncing off what you said. I grew up also in a Christian household. My pastor was a minister, or I'm sorry, my father was a pastor and a minister, still is.
Yep.
My grandpa is. But something that I really love that my dad taught us as we grew up is he said, because you're born in a Christian home doesn't give you a golden ticket into heaven. You're not automatically saved because you're born in a Christian home. So something that my father always encouraged us growing up is you got to find this thing out by yourself.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes off of what you said. To me, as a young teen growing up, I always this question constantly kept on running in my mind of, out of all, like you call them, the holy books, the other Bibles for other religions, I always asked, why is it that the Bible is hated the most out of all these books?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even now, look in our day and age. This is a question that I've constantly had, growing up in the faith as a young teen, is like, why is this book hated out of all the other books?
Yep.
So that question being there definitely catered to my curiosity, so to say, which caused me obviously to study out some things, have encounters that are undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll say it this way. If we're sitting here and a king was to walk into the room, we wouldn't need anybody to tell us, hey, look, that's the king of so-and-so.
Yep.
We know that
Yep.
this is royalty and holiness that just walked in. So it's those personal encounters I had were like that, where it's like, even if you try to convince me that Jesus is not real, it's like
Too late.
The kings walked into the room.
Yeah,
it's like,
too late.
you don't need somebody to tell you that it's God once God just literally stepped into your room, type of thing.
Yep.
So those are some of the small things that I've had growing up. Obviously, now being in the faith, I mean, I came to the Lord when I was 14 years old, gave my life. And obviously now studying, finding evidence, having constant personal encounters. My wife and I call them mile markers is what we call them. It's just like, man, it's as real as it can be.
Yeah.
It's as real. There's too much scientific evidence. There's too much historic evidence that points to it being real, where it's like, you got to be ignorant to not, honestly, I'm just going to call it as it is. You got to be ignorant to not believe or even try to lean into this, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but.
And for those of you who are watching and maybe you haven't decided yet what your stance is on it, I encourage you, just get honest with God and say, God, show me, and be honest about it.
Yeah.
God, show me if you're real. Show me if and why, and he will meet you with whatever makes sense for you and with you to show you what is real, and that he is God, and that Jesus is real, and that he did come and die for our sins.
Yeah.
And when he does that and he shows you, then it's time for you to make the step and say, Lord, I Jesus, I make you my Savior. Forgive my sins, because that's what he came for.
Yeah.
Forgive my sins, and I make you my Lord. I surrender my life to you, and I want you to be in charge now. Once you're convinced, you got to take that second step, because just being convinced isn't enough. Just to believe, oh yeah, I studied it out and I believe that Jesus is God. Well, yeah, the demons believe that too.
Yeah.
In fact, they've got more of a record than we had. They were in his presence, face to face in heaven.
Yeah.
You know, if you talk fallen angels in that realm.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yeah, they're doomed to eternal hell.
yet, and they still, they not only believe he's God, they know he's God.
Yeah.
You know, they're just hoping this Lucifer rising up is going to work out, so it works out better for them
They're
in
so
the end.
deceived.
But yeah, right up front, it's like, well, they have no encounter or experience. No, they have a whole greater one than we've got. They were standing face to face with Almighty God.
Yeah.
So that, to tell them, well, God's not real. No, they believe, that's what Scripture says, and yet they're lost because they refuse to take that next step and surrender. And, you know, at some point when this thing fell apart, they just got rebellious like human beings get. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do it your way.
Yeah.
That's why the whole works got thrown out, is because of that rebellion and that stubbornness, and I'm not going to do this your way. And knowing the little bit I know about what the Father's like, I'm sure they had an opportunity. I'm sure he asked them, are you sure?
You're regarding the angels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they fell. And Lucifer, are you sure you want to go down this road? Because this road won't end well. I'm sure he gave them opportunity to back off of that. But like people today, they just lock down in it and like, no, I ain't doing God's way, and I'm going to do it my way, and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to end up in the same place.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good. So when you come to the understanding, now you have to make the choice of surrender. And you have to say, okay, I'm going to now make you my Savior, and that's going to convert into my Lord. He's going to be my master. He's going to be the one who I serve, because we serve somebody. He's going to be the one I serve.
Yeah.
And I encourage you, even now, as you walk through that, you have to take those steps so that when you leave this body and you step into eternity, that everything is good.
Yeah. Amen.
So, what do you think? We'll wrap this one up?
Yeah, we'll wrap this one up.
And
thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Be blessed.